All right, I think we are up and running. I'm going to pull up a few different things for here as we go. Probably need Google at some point in time. Let's see. Do I have? Yeah, I do. Excellent. Wasn't sure I had Notepad++ installed on this machine. Got my books. We'll need those shortly. Why don't we just forgo in... Wow. Lost my train of thought. Okay, let's go here. I probably don't need this anymore. No. 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 I don't need that anymore. Don't need that anymore. Alright, so now that I finally have this all ready, what is the plan for this stream? If you saw earlier today on Twitter and on Facebook, so today as in January 3rd, 2017, we announced some new things that we're rolling out. The big one being right now that I wanted to roll out some more live video content. And with that, it's like, okay, what would be interesting to do? What would I have fun doing, and what would I think that people could potentially find interesting? And I wanted to focus on fairly practical stuff for gaming, stuff like that, especially with character creation on various systems. I'm looking at doing more Dungeons and Dragons stuff, which this one is, and then as well doing Star Wars Age of Empire eventually, and Cold Steel Wardens eventually. And sorry, I'm talking slightly off to the side because I have a microphone right here, and it seems to be picking me up pretty well, so I'm assuming it's working. I have stuff cranked up, so it should be pretty good, and I tested it out a couple times. So I wanted to start with some Dungeons and Dragons character creation. Again, 5th edition. You might be like, why are you going to do some more of this, Petter? You already have done a whole bunch of character creation. Those, and I have done a few that I would actually consider like something that I'd walk through with you and explain how the story would work. But in this case, I wanted to take and kind of demonstrate how you can have a character concept and build off of that yourself. So in this case, I want to spend a few weeks going through and building Legolas, Gimli, Aragorn, Gandalf from Lord of the Rings, as well as at Besker Tom on Twitter suggested that I go through and do Daredevil, Luke Cage, Jessica Jones, and the Iron Fist for characters as well. And I might throw Punisher in there as well. He kind of fits into that theme of the hero, but not a hero. But I wanted to start with one that Jason, an old coworker of mine, suggested when I was chatting with him about potentially doing this as an idea, and that's Gambit. Gambit has always been one of my favorite X-Men, and I really want him to get his own movie and for justice to be done by him for that. So, how can you go about creating Gambit in the world of Dungeons and Dragons? Now, Gambit, you can play him, I think, either way. You could either go back and play him in a setting back then, or you could say, well, we're using D&D as the base of our game and we're moving to a more modern time frame. But our goal is to come up with Gambit the best that we can. And what I want to start with here, let's see. Sorry. Let's see what I can do view-wise. Oh, lost it. Zoom. Does this actually just no. Control numlock plus? Screw it. Let's do one last zoom on this. Oh, sweet. So I can just do control. Make this large so that it's easy enough to read. So when you're creating Gambit, and I think what I'm going to do with all of these character creations, I want to ask the question, okay, if I'm creating Gambit, what are the things that are most important about Gambit? Like, what do we know about Gambit? So he fights with a bow staff and energizes cards. He was a thief. He is a charmer / sucker for a pretty face. I spelled thief wrong. We'll just go bow staff that way. He fights with agility and quickness, not a tank. And let's see, what else? He's a bit of a loner and doesn't trust easily. Some magical properties of some sort. So I've thought a little bit about this already, so I'm not completely going into this blind. To me, Gambit falls probably into two classes that is going to make, eventually, for you, the character of Gambit. So this is a little monk-like to me. This, rogue. Rogue. Monk and rogue. This is just more a character trait. Wow, I cannot spell today. Properties. And this says monk to me as well. Might go monk, magical, mystical monk, but how does he imbue his weapons? Oh, I just want to see something. Waiting. That is how it's spelled. I avoided spelling it just in case I was wrong. I'm not sure how otherwise it would be spelled, but I was worried. Okay, so some magical properties of some sort. You might go, well, the monk, like we could get the ninja thing going on. You can kind of see it. You can kind of see where this might be coming together. Let me. I don't know if that's saved anywhere anymore. I've been busy making Star Wars characters and stuff from articles, so back to the download. Ugh. Why did you change my view on me, dude? I want list. Nope. Details. Date modify, that means this one. Nope. Maybe. Yep. Let's try it. Awesome. So this is no longer actually clean for me. Lame. Are you actually clean? Waiting. Hey, it looks like it is. So we're just going to start by filling in some stuff here. Gambit is a human. He's chaotic neutral, I would say. And this is why I pulled up so he was abandoned at birth. Good. I figured urchin would make a smart background for that. Human. We're actually, and I'm going to go through and build this step by step. Rogue 1. You start with, you start with rogue. And there is a reason why I do that. In his background, like we were talking about on here, he was a thief. That is not necessarily his current occupation. He still thieves, but for more honorable reasons. And it makes sense to start out with rogue because one of the rogue archetypes is thief. So let's pull up our dear old rogue. Actually, let's start with human. Let's pull up human. No. Half elf. Tiefling, so that means I passed it already. Dragonborn, oh yeah, before Dragonborn. Humans. Let's just hop around here. So he gets +1 to every single ability. And I mean, he knows common, and I'm going to use D&D terms. So if you want to play this character in a fantasy setting, it's going to be easier to do based out of that. And Elven. Reason for Elven, I think, well, Remy LeBeau is his actual name. It leans itself towards French. Well, it's obviously French. It leans itself towards elves because I put them as the French. Sorry, thought I had a cat behind me. Maybe I do. Nope, doesn't look like I do. French language, if there was one. And then also, he's a walk speed of 30 feet. This will change. And I'm going to have to learn how to multi-class here on the fly, because I know you get some stuff, but not other things. Lost my chunk of the book. We have the rogue. Actually, even before that, we have, in creating a character, our standard array of ability scores. 16. I'm actually going to use it this way. I've started to like it better to do that. Big number there. 16 plus, so then that's a +3. Very dexterous. Our 14 is going to go into street. Of course, not used to it yet though. Or wisdom. Simply because he has lived on the streets so long. He is comfortable and like knows his way around a scene. And I feel like that one kind of hits off of that. I'm going to go with Constitution next, which is going to give us a 14 in Constitution, which is a +2. And we'll go, well, that'll just give us a +1 still, with a 13 in Intelligence. Strength is going to be his low stat, a 9, which gives us -1 in his strength. And his charisma is just going to be straight across the board, an 11, which is, 11, which is just a 0. Now, he's kind of a charmer and a ladies' man when he has to be. But with his loner tendencies, and he doesn't really necessarily get along with everybody, his charisma I'm putting as a little lower, and his wisdom is a little higher, and that's what he bases it off of more. And there will be, coming up here, when I find the section of the book that has rogues in it again. It's this section. Not this section. Not this section. I need to get this replaced. Oh, there's fighter. Oh, and not this section. So he's going to start out with, and his hit die is 1d, or he has 1 hit die, and they are of the d8 variety. So he is automatically just going to start with 10 hit points. As a rogue, he also gets a few things, light armor, simple weapons, and crossbow, long sword, rapier, short sword, thieves' tools. I now have a cat behind me. And he gets, so his saving throws are going to be, what are they? Dexterity and intelligence. And that makes a lot of sense for him. So that one's a -1. That's a +5 to start out with. +2. +2. +2. And charisma is just a straight up 0. Charisma, I think I found the trick that I like for charisma in this case, and I'll demonstrate it coming up here. So he gets to choose 4 from a number of things, but I'll just pick the ones that make the most sense. Acrobatics, deception, persuasion, and sleight of hand. I'm hoping to get stealth at some other point in time. Probably can get it from the urchin background. But there is a reason why I want to do that. And then there's all the starting equipment. I'm actually going to go through and give him the equipment that I think makes sense. So, at first level, he gains expertise. That means he doubles his proficiency bonus in a couple of things. First, we're going to do sneak attack over here. If you have advantage on an attack or the enemy is engaged with an ally of yours, you get an extra 1d6 damage. Extra 1d6 damage. And then in the languages, we're just going to add and thieves can't. But expertise, I get to choose 2 of my skill proficiencies, or 1 of my skill proficiencies and a tool proficiency to double my proficiency bonus on. This is where that becomes a +4 and that becomes a +4. Those are the 2 that I'm going to take. He now has really good schmoozing skills without actually being super charismatic. And everything else is pretty high. Like, those are pretty high as well. So that's the first thing that he gets. So let's find a die here. A D8 somewhere in here. Because I really am always in favor of rolling your hit dice. It creates a more interesting character. You can always do the average, you can do the max, or you can roll. Are basically the ones that options I have seen. I think rolling's the most fun. So I got a 5, so that's really the average. So he now has 2 hit dice and is at 17 hit points. And I should get him his gear. He's going to have leather armor. That's his trench coat. He's going to have darts and a bow staff. Commoner's clothes. And like 8 silver pieces. And he's actually going to have in his gear, instead of anything else, he has a burglar's pack. That's very much who he is. We'll actually go remove this whole chunk because I can just put the 8 in the silver pieces. He should not have much money to start out with. And then we can actually hop to backgrounds as well. See what his background urchin gives him. Proficiencies in sleight of hand and stealth. That means, so that becomes a +5. He's actually just, I'm going to give him perception as well. Say that my sleight of hand, picking it before, was actually perception. And personality traits. I bluntly say what other people are hinting at or hiding. So that one is the closest I just saw on the list to Remy LeBeau. I think, like, he's fairly straightforward with people. He knows when to hold it back, but if there's something awkward, he's not going to skip saying it. Let's see. I think change is the natural order of things. Makes sense. Bonds. I think I sponsor an orphanage to keep others from enduring what I had to endure. It's something that he would do and would explain why he's poor. And the flaws, I will never fully trust anyone other than myself. So that is very much in line. If we go back to this document over here, the character trait, he's a bit of a loner and doesn't trust easily. The one question I can see arising is, how does he make a good character for a party then? Because he's a loner. There are definite circumstances that would bring him, forgot that, that's +3, into a group to protect his city, to protect those less fortunate, as part of a heist. Like, he's chaotic. Actually, I think he might be chaotic good. Thinking about the character. He cares about others, he just does stuff his way. It's chaotic good, chaotic neutral. I won't get too caught up on that. Let's finish outfitting him. His armor class is a solid 14. And with his weapons, we're calling it a bow staff. Actually, we'll just call it a quarterstaff. What's the difference between quarters? Let's look at this up. Bow staff. No, he'd be a bow staff fighter. So we're gonna leave it called that. Bow staff, attack bonus. Like, this is actually a strength-based weapon, not a finesse. I think that makes sense, though. He has a -1 on his attack. Actually, yeah. Oh, nope, he has a +1 on his attack. And it does 1d6 -1 damage of the bludgeoning variety. And bow staff, two-handed, still a +1 on the attack, and it's 1d8 -1 bludgeoning. And then I gave him darts, and he's going to have 52 of them. If you can't figure out where that's going to go eventually, that's on you. Those are thrown, so it's a +5. Yeah, simple ranged weapon. Doesn't say simple melee weapons, so +5 to hit. It does 1d4 +3. 3, and that's piercing damage. Now that's going to change as he this book, it's so falling apart. It's fine, it's fine. Whew. Deep breath, shallow breath, hyperventilate. No. So at second level, he gains cunning action. Cunning action with bonus action, you can dash. Let's see what it is. Dash, disengage, or hide. Disengage or hide. And that's all he really gets at that level. But the next level up, he does get a second die of sneak attack damage. He gains another 9 hit points. That was a nice roll. So we're at 26. We're going to go rogue 3, and right now I'm on 0. We're eventually going to get monk in there. So at round 3, he gets the thief archetype. And you might be asking, okay, how long are we going to go with his thieving background? I think, and I have to check it out a little bit here to see, because fast hands as a bonus action. Oh, and he definitely has thieves tools. As a bonus action, another use for it, make a sleight of hand check with tools to disarm, trap, or unlock door. Always thinking ahead, always on his feet. And then second, story work. That means climbing doesn't cost extra movement. And running jump increases by 3 feet. Nothing all that super spectacular right there. Oh, my passive perception is 14. So he can have an ability score improvement here, but I feel like with him, I'm torn on this. I think X-Men, Gambit, lucky or unlucky. He's going to take the lucky feat instead. Lucky. So 1, 2, 3. Can re-roll a die up to 3 die on a result. Before you know it, must use new result. Refreshes after long rest. So there we are. Like, now we have our 4th level rogue with another 6 hit points, so he's at 32. It's not bad. And yeah, that's beginning to look a little bit more like Gambit. But it really mainly looks like a thief right now. So how much longer are we going to continue on Rogue? I'm just going to tell you right now, and this will probably wrap up what I'm doing for the night once I level up twice more in Rogue. So that's 6 and 4, so 10. 42 hit points. 42 hit points, that's 6 of these. Now, so he gains a couple things. Uncanny dodge. Dex saving throws for area effects. Take half on failed save. And let me verify I'm looking at the right one. Nope, I was looking at the wrong one. So it's if an attacker you can see hits you, use your reaction to have the damage against you. So as long as it has an attack roll, you can use it, even if it's like, I don't know why it would be. Well, maybe something like Chain Lightning, where you would have to, I'm not sure with Chain Lightning, but something where you would have to roll an attack against multiple creatures. It only halves your damage, not the other creatures or other players' damage. So I wanted to get that, which makes sense. Might go up to 7. I get evasion at 7. But I don't know that he gets beat up a fair amount. He can avoid some of it, but he gets beat up a fair amount. So instead, he just gets expertise with 2 more things that he's proficient with, which means, well, let's double check on this. You're level 6. That means the persuasion is actually a plus 6. Deception is a plus 6. And actually, I'm going to do sleight of hand and, well, so let's bump this one up as well. That becomes a plus 6. And perception becomes a plus 5. I'm going to bump up sleight of hand to a plus 9, which is insane, and stealth to a plus 9. At this point in time of his life, he is very much thief, sneak, and a cheater at cards. Which reminds me, we need to give him cards. Deck of cards. And that's very much who he is. However, now he's not magical yet. And that is one of the big things about him, is he has the ability to imbue power into stuff that he touches. With that, how am I going to pull that off? That is actually where Monk is going to come in next time, and in particular the Kensai. Monk, I believe it's what it's called. Let's go Monk Unearthed Arcana. Here we are. New monastic traditions. And what you'll see here is with the Way of the Kensai, when he gets this at 3rd level, you gain proficiency with 3 martial weapons of your choice. They are considered Kensai weapons for you if you're proficient with it. And so I'm going to pick actually the quarterstaff, or bow staff as we're calling it, and his darts. However, the darts are going to kind of change into playing cards. And he just whips those around. It'd be a bad paper cut. He's talented with them. This allows us then to switch to dexterity instead of strength for the attack and damage rolls with the quarterstaff or bowstaff. And it's a little bit of extra damage. And if you make an unarmed strike as part of your attack action on your turn and are holding a Kensei weapon, you can use the weapon to defend yourself and gain +2 bonus to AC. That's nice. So this is level 6, so it's going to be level 12 before you get magical weapons. So that takes a little while, but that's going to really make him into Gambit. Then at level 11, you can augment your weapons with the strength of your ki. As a bonus action, you can expend up to 3 ki points to grant a weapon you touch a bonus to attack and damage rolls while you wield it. The bonus equals the number of ki points you spent and lasts for a minute. So I would say, for argument's sake, that his whole deck of cards, he can imbue that with power at once. And he doesn't, as long as he's throwing stuff, they're going to have power, the added power in them. And so that's at level 11. And if you're doing the math, we're not going to get to level 17. That's okay. We have lucky for him. So I could consider going only up to level 11 here and then go 9 levels of rogue. I'll have to see. Maybe I'll bounce back to it again. But starting after level 6, it makes a lot of sense. And he's going to jump into the Way of the Kensei. The Way of the Kensei is an unearthed arcana right now. It is not considered league playable. There are certain things about it that seem kind of broken, but it's definitely, it fits Gambit perfectly, and you kind of have to use it, in my opinion, in this case. And that will be next time as I level him up to level 11 Monk, and from there we'll see where we finish him off at to get him to level 20. Do we continue through Monk, which would give us... Trying to find stuff in the book again. Fighter. Monk. So, like, we could go up to level 14. Gives us some decent stuff. But I actually think that we'll probably hop back to Rogue at that point. Or... trying to think if there's anything else that makes sense to splash in there to get that last little bit. But I think hopping back to Rogue for another, what did I say? 3 levels, I guess. Gives some evasion, another ability score improvement, which would be kind of nice to have. And finally gives him something from his thieves background, level 9. Oh, yeah, it just makes him even sneakier. I could go straight up to level 9 now, but I feel like when he joins the X-Men, he isn't necessarily the supreme at anything, and this is going to kind of help balance that out. So hopefully this has been interesting as we work on building Gambit. So this is part 1, and I will be back next Tuesday to build part 2. I'm trying to do it once a week. I might bump it up to twice a week, depending on how my schedule looks. I might try and throw in a little extra time on a Thursday. But for right now, plan on Tuesdays. Planning on starting them at 5. Seems like a reasonable time, 5 Central. Allows people, hopefully, eventually more people to watch and see this. So, with that, here we have it, Gambit Part 1. We will, I should wait to sign off once I can actually quit the program. We will see you in probably in a couple days to finish off Gambit. He was a little bit more complicated build than some. I'll probably be able to go through faster with other characters the more I do this, such as Legolas or Aragorn or Gimli. Not so much Gandalf will be interesting. But on that note, I am signing off for the night. I have been one of the head nerdologists, Petter, and